Hey guys, welcome in. It is time for our, how do I put this? Competitive slop review for the first half of the 2026 summer tournament. And of course, I am hosting once again because everyone needs some Icarus in their life. And yeah, I'm just going to get straight into it. I've already pre-made some of it. Um, Unfortunately, these are three that are currently already out of playoff contention, them being Endzone, Enetro, and Element Lover. There are a few others in that pile to include Rafa, who of course does not have a Discord, and I could not be bothered finding a profile picture, and Semic, who for whatever reason I could not download his profile picture. So that is the already eliminated tier. Um, but we're just going to go kind of in order of where I have them here, and we're just going to kind of put them in place from there. So here we have Barbarica. Now, I'm sorry for using all these old profile pictures, but they were what I had available to me. So here we go. I mean, I'm even using my old one. So here we go. So Barbarica came out, proceeded to not play his first two matches because he was away. I guess he was doing school, which fair enough. Focused on school, getting to college, whatnot. So, but because of that, we do have a very small sample size of what he's actually been able to do. Um, right now, he's currently 0-2. He's played against myself, and he's played against um, and he's played against John. Who are two players who are pretty solid. I think I'm pretty solid myself. So I'm gonna put him in. It's tough to tell. He struggled against Turk, but a lot of that was lag, and they are gonna replay that match. So I want to know what that's gonna look like without lag, which is an important factor to consider. Um, I'm thinking the fair place right now to put him, considering his 0-2 record, considering that he did struggle against Turk even with the lag, um, and although he does look pretty solid when he does get the chance to practice, I think the only fair place for him for the first half of this season, I'm going to put him at the low contender, high challenger, which feels a little harsh considering he did, finish fourth place last season. But reality is, I don't know where else I would put him right now. I feel like this tier is just a little too high considering the combination of his record and the fact that he hasn't had much practice time. And of course, again, that a lot of that comes down to the fact that he just hasn't had practice time. I'm sure by the end of the season we'll be putting him somewhere in here, probably in the mid-range shouts. Next up, we're gonna have Connie, another old profile picture here, but this is Connie, um, and already Connie has looked pretty damn solid. Aside from getting smacked by Frostfire, which aside from Shadow Visions, no one's really getting close to Frostfire on a good day. So we're gonna go ahead. It's tough to again another tough one because I'm kind of between these two here for Connie. Um, I will say her record is pretty solid, and she did beat MBO, who I had as being the favorite in that series personally. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna put Connie kind of at the top of mid-range shouts. Um, just with the specific reasoning that again she did beat MBO, and I do think that ping advantage came into that a little bit, but then again she also had it only went to 4 games, which means she had to have taken at least one off of MBO on ping disadvantage, which is impressive considering. Um, but I think that's really kind of where I think that's really the only fair um, place for her right now because I'm going to be honest with you. I'm just going to go ahead and put these two at the top of contender. On a good day, and in this order, Shadow Visions I think is the number one. Um, I think Shadow Visions is easily the top player in the tournament right now, just based on the fact that yes, he has only played those two matches, but both of them were sweeps. Um, and on top of that, uh, they were pretty convincing sweeps. Aside from um, almost dropping Hunting around to myself, he looked pretty solid. Acro 2 was also pretty close, all things considered. 12 points on Acro 2 is not a ton. But that sweep against Frostfire, he just looked like he was on another planet. But Frostfire has turned it back around since then and has not dropped a single game. He has since swept John, swept Turk, and swept Connie. So I think that's really that's why there's this step up here, is that Connie got swept by Frostfire. I don't think it's fair for me to put them in the same bracket. Um, and we're going to jump right on ahead over here. I'm going to go ahead and put MBO in mid-range shouts below Connie. Um, Specifically because Connie was able to beat MBO, like I already mentioned. And quite frankly, I do think MBO on a good day might be able to take Connie. But I think that would have to be a pretty solid day, especially considering ping advantage. The ping is what's really going to be. It's really hard to beat Connie on EU ping. It really is. It is very hard to do. So I think that's really kind of where I'd put those two relative to each other. Moving on, I'm gonna go ahead and grab. Let's see. E guy is in a tough spot. He is 1-2 overall, with the caveat that his single win is against Turk, who, with all due respect, I'm going to go ahead and put Turk at low contender, high challenger. Turk is a good player. I'll get back to E-Guy in a sec, but Turk is a good player. I'm not going to lie. Um, I'm not going to lie and say he's not a good player. He did almost beat Frostfire and in a match, and quite frankly, he should have. He got a little bit unlucky with either some ping problems or just mistimed picking up a last gem, and a game ended in a tie that really should have been a Turk win. Um, and he went 3-1 against E-Guy actually had a tie with Turk, and then Turk was able to win. It was on oh man, I was there for that. It was on Fun in the Sun, and they tied, and then Turk was able to win the replay, which was on Turk's pick. But then the rest of that series was a blowout. I mean, it was a 22-point win for E-Guy, then a 36-point win, and then a 50-point win for E-Guy across. So, and then E-Guy's losses were to Connie and then MBO in a game 5, and which was a very close game 5. Uh, I think his record is a little unfair to him. Connie, he just looked out of sorts against. Definitely nervous. A bit of EU ping coming in. He had another tie on there as well in the on Terraced Tundra, and then he lost that replay as well. I think really the only place I could see him, considering the 1-2 record and considering the sweep against Connie, although he did have that tie. Oh, that's tough because E-Guy is a very solid player on a good day, and I do think he was a little unfortunate to get swept by Connie, and on top of that, I also do think he was unfortunate to lose to MBO. Um, but as of right now, just with where he stands, I'm gonna go ahead and put him at the top end of the low contender, high challenger. Um, just generally speaking, I feel that's tough. That's a tough pick. I'm not. It, it's another one where I could feel like it could be either based on skill level. E guy should be here, maybe here. Um, but based on current results and based on margin of victory, strength of schedule, and everything, I'm going to put him here. Next up, we have Jean, And John has not. Well, no, he has. He has won. I was gonna say he has not won a set, but he has. He managed to beat Barbarica, and other than that, he got swept by Frostfire, lost in a game five to MBO, and lost in a game five to me. He's a very tough out when you do play against him. Tournament John is kind of real. I'm not gonna lie. I was a disbeliever for a while, but with that being said, considering that I'm not 100% sure where John's um, best. I don't know how to put this diplomatically. I'm not sure where his best days rank against everybody else's best days. Um, in terms of overall sheer speed and skill, and I mean, outside of melee maps, he struggles a bit. I'm not gonna lie, and he definitely has also struggled with ping problems as well, which means if he does go against a higher seed that has North America ping, I mean, the reality is, even if he gets it down to a game five, he's gonna struggle in that game five. We saw that against both myself and against MBO. He lost by 19 to MBO in a game five, and he lost to me in a game five by 17. So I think right now I would put him. This is tough as well. I'm gonna put him. I could see him on either side of Barbarica, to be honest. I'm gonna put him here for now, though, just with where I think part of the problem for him has been strength of schedule. He had to play against MBO, tough opponent. Frostfire got swept there, very tough opponent. Uh, of course, he did also beat Barbarica head to head, so it's only fair that I put John ahead of Barbarica. And then he also had to play me, and I'm pretty solid as well, I think. So I think that's kind of where I'd put John here. Next up, we have myself. Yeah, I don't like ranking myself because I always feel biased when I do it. I will say Shadow Vision swept me. It was pretty depressing how it went out, how I went out there. Um, and I'm thinking I want to put myself here, but it feels like I'm being biased if I do that. So I, I'm just gonna put myself there for now. I think that that's probably about fair. I am 2-1 right now, with wins against players in this tier, down here, and my single loss is to a player up here. So I think that that's kind of fair. Um, we can touch back on this later. So that is kind of where the contender division is stacking up here. This is where we're going to start to get some overlap, though, with the high challenger versus low contenders. Because personally, I'm going to grab Misty here. I think Misty would be one of the top players in. Would have the potential to be one of the top players in uh, contender division. And I do think it is unfair for me to go ahead and just say, yeah, he's better than some of the players in contender because he hasn't had to play anybody in contender. Um, but in the matches he's played in challenger, he has looked absolutely lethal across the board. Um, he has not lost a single set. Neither him nor Endy have lost a single set. And because of that, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm not going to again because I have these kind of in order of where I'd put them in terms of power rankings, and I'm not going to make that call to be like, yeah, these guys are above the guys in the division above them because that just doesn't really make sense to me. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna put Misty and Endy at the high challenger, which I'm gonna say is like the equivalent of the top of contender. Um, so that's just me though. I think that that's kind of fair. Because I think on a good day, Misty beats Turk. I think on a good day, Endy beats Turk. And then these matches would be fairly close between these two and these three, and then probably against these two and myself and MBO. Connie is where things start to get a little tougher for these two, and then these two are just on another planet. So yeah, I don't feel, I don't think it's fair for me to be like, yeah, the guys in challenger are higher than the guys in contender because they don't have to play against the players in contender. That's what makes it a different division and everything. I mean, obviously, but like that's what makes it more difficult for me to rank them. Next up, I think we have the epitome of like a middle to low challenger, or I guess I'm gonna say high middle challenger, which is Jacob. He's a very solid player, and we have seen him perform very well against some of the other top players, to include Wilch. Um, and Wilch is another person I'm going to put in that middle low challenger area. He's Neither of these two are as good as these two. I mean, that's just me putting it frankly. That's just the case. And although Wilch has struggled a little bit, I think with his mentality, he's still very good when he's locked in. He did lose unfortunately in a game 5 by 3 points after a tie, which was absolutely insane. He did beat Surge in a week in a game 5 as well. And playing Endy was never going to be easy. So he does have his two hardest matches out of the way, which is Endy and Misty. Both of those ended in sweeps, of course, because neither of these two have lost a uh, single series or a single set within their series yet. So yeah, I think that's fair for them. Robert, I'm going to go ahead and put. Um, Robert's a tough pick because I mean, looking at strength of schedule and everything, he's played DK, very close series. He beat Charlotte Maniac, got swept by Misty, and then also lost a game 5 to Jacob. For that reason, I'm going to put him here uh, between these two for now. I think the logic there is that, again, I can't put him above Robert because, I mean, I can't put him above Jacob because obviously he lost to Jacob. Um, but at the same time, he was very unfortunate to have kind of. I mean, he literally had not. Um, there was a point in time where he hadn't won a single series, and he had lost two game fives, and he was 0-3. It's like that is so unfortunate, but just based on those results, I'm gonna put him kind of between those two for now, and we'll see how I feel when we get to the end of this. Um, we have Kago next up, and I think really the only fair place for both A Game and Kago are hoping to steal a playoff spot. That's Kago looked really bad against Plasma. I mean, if these two played on that day, A Game would have absolutely smoked Kago. But I will say Kago has saved his best two maps for A Game. So we will see how that pans out. Um, And then next up we have Plasma here. Um, I think the fairest place for me to put him, even though he performed so well against Kago and honestly could have won that series, had a couple of couple more things gone his way. That 3-1 was extremely unfair to him. He lost. I want to say he lost that series by a combined um, 5 points. Um, because he lost game one by a single point. He lost game two by 3. He won game 3 by 1, and then he lost game 4 by 2. So, yeah, 5 combined points. I still think in order to make the playoffs, Plasma would have to beat a player from this division, which I just don't see happening because if that was Plasma's peak form and that was Kago's worst form, then I just don't know how that's gonna happen. I'm gonna go ahead and this is harsh, but I'm gonna put him in would need a miracle to make the playoffs. Because he would have to beat somebody from this area of challenger, which I just don't see happening. But again, if he plays like he did against Kago and one of these guys over here has a really bad day, who knows? We will see what happens. Um, we have Surge next. Surge is like the epitome of like your I don't want to say average because that sounds mean, but he's like your solid play. He's a solid player. Like he did lose to Wilch in a game five. He did take DK to 4 games, and DK is a very solid player. Of course, that was like I want to say it was another sweep thriller for Surge. He is allergic to having a non-thrilling game on sweep. I mean, if you go back to last year, he played Kago. Kago won by like a single point in the dying seconds. Um, and then he actually beat Eguy in the play-ins or the playoffs last year in another thrilling match, and then he beat DK this year in another thriller on sweep. So Surge very good on sweep and has a lot of fun and thrilling games, but as of right now, he is currently sitting at sixth. I'm gonna put him above Wilch for now. Um, just with have these two played actually? Let me go check. They did play. So I'm gonna go ahead and swap them back over because Welch did win that series when they played by 13 points, or by sorry 13 points in the game five. And then yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and flip them back over. I think that's fair. Yoshi hoping to steal a playoff spot. I think these two are the 1, 2, 3 in the open division. Calais is 4. Um, this is probably the order I'd put them in. These two could probably be flipped, but we'll see how this goes. Um, this one is funny because I don't want to say hoping to steal a playoff spot because that feels like he's kind of in a weird spot because there's an uneven number of players in the top two divisions. I'm gonna go ahead and put Charlemaniac in the hoping to steal a playoff spot area. He's a good player. His movement is very solid, but he just doesn't know the meta of the game that well. I mean, and that kind of shows in the fact he hasn't won a single set yet. And on top of that, his points total is so much lower than everybody else's in his division. It's just hard for me to imagine he's going to um, I mean, and obviously he has improved. I will say that he has definitely improved. He had a pretty okay showing on Gems in the Road against Robert. I personally thought it was pretty good for a player who probably hasn't played that map at all. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna have to put him here for now, just with where he's at. DK, I'm going to put DK as being the top of the middle in Challenger. And that's just with the fact that his only losses in the entire thing have been to Misty, and Misty is easily I want to not maybe not easily between these two, but Misty is probably the best player in the Challenger division, and that's the only set or the only series he's lost. Besides that, he beat Surge 3-1. He beat Jacob 3-0, and he also beat Robert in a game five. So I think that's probably fair. Um, and then that leaves us with the players that are technically still in it, um, based on the fact that they are yet to lose two games yet. Um, Farmer's Wife, Zigglefwig, Osauce, Who's Matt, Jacob. We're gonna put Jacob over here, and Bluesock, who I'm gonna put kind of over here as well. Um, let's flip these around a bit. Put I gotta look at some of these games that have already been played. So, Farmer's Wife did beat Enetro, which was pretty solid. It was a very entertaining series. Um, and we are missing Ouija Maelstrom, who technically is still in playoff contention, and I would probably put somewhere in here, this kind of mid-range area. Jacob has improved a lot recently, and that's why I'm putting him so high up in there, despite the fact that he's technically only like the 8 in there. Osos is in a weird spot. His point differential is like super freaking high, so I'm gonna put him up here for now. Um, Trying to see who did Osos play that would have made that happen. Osos lost to Plasma by um oh, he beat the crap out of Endzone. That was why. Okay. Um, yeah, Osas only really lost to Plasma in a game 5. And Huzmat also lost to Plasma in a game 5. So I'm gonna probably stick with this order for these ones. Um, Ice Ice Baby, I'm gonna put in here in this general area as well. I could not get his profile picture to download for some reason, so that's why he's not in this image. But other than that, this is kind of where I'm at with where the players currently fall. Um, Obviously, some flip flopping could be done here. I might put myself in the low contender, high challenger area. Same with E guy. I could see either of us being here or there. Um, and then the rest, I'd say this is probably pretty accurate as to where I'd put everybody. Um, the only things that I could see changing here are I could see Connie moving up to there. I could see MBO potentially moving up to there if he finds form. Um, but other than that, I think this is probably where I'm gonna stick everybody. I think honestly this season has been fantastic so far, though. We've had a lot of very entertaining games. I do like how this format is set up, although it is kind of stressful that I constantly have to be playing very good players. Um, but yeah, this is where my icky slop tier list slop is currently. If you have any disagreements, let me know. But other than that, this is what I got for that. So, I also have decided to make a couple of superlatives just for fun. They don't really mean anything, but just for funsies. Kind of like we did last season. So, I'll just get straight into it. I made 4 awards: the entertainer, the heartbroken, the most heated rivalry, and the most improved. Um, and I kind of just took into account what I think each one of these things would mean. I think entertainer is just whoever had the most entertaining matches. Heartbroken, just whoever had the most heartbreaking losses. Heated rivalry we'll get to, and most improved we will get to as well. So for the entertainer, I've decided to go ahead and give it to Plasma. Uh, the Open Division as a whole has been extremely entertaining to watch. It's so much different than the top 2 divisions where a lot of players just play to the meta. They play in a very defined, very rigid style of play. The Open Division does not have that. The Open Division instead has been a breath of fresh air, and of course, a huge part of this is Plasma. Um, he has, for all intents and purposes, had the craziest matches I think I've witnessed in a long time. Between a reverse sweep against Osos, in which he was down 2-0 and came back and won the series 3-2, and then another game 5 against Huzmat, and then taking on Kego, who was one of the favorites to win the Open Division and challenge for a playoff spot. He only lost that series by a combined 5 points. Combined 5 points. The the biggest blowout in that series was a 3 points in favor of Kago on all angles. That was the highest blowout in that entire match. Genuinely, had a couple of spawns gone his way, we could be talking about Plasma having one of the biggest upsets in the tournament in a while. But it was a very entertaining match across the board. And on to include his other two matches, it has been absolutely insane. Every single match from Plasma has been absolute cinema. So I've given the Entertainer Award to Plasma. The next award is the Heartbroken Award. So I've kind of given the hypothetical. Your first three matches of the season, and you've gone 0-3. Two of those losses were Game 5 randomizers. And one of those randomizer losses was just by 4 points. His only big loss was to Misty, and I mean, Misty is definitely the favorite to win the whole Challenger division at the end of the year, or at the end of the season, rather. Unless ND can put a stop to that, but that'll be a quite entertaining match, I think, when those two play. I will say he played Charlemaniac after DK, which is why it kind of went on the results a little differently. But uh, the first three matches for him were two Game 5 losses and a sweep. I'm giving the Heartbroken Award to Robert. The most heated rivalry award goes to Icarus versus John. Um, we have had a long-standing rivalry. We both came onto the scene around the same time back in 2018. We faced off in a knockout round match against each other, in which John won, and I took a very long break from the community afterwards. And then we didn't play each other for a very, very, very long time after that. But we finally got matched back up again in the new format, and it was an absolute bloodbath. Neither of us said good game after any of the games. I nearly forfeit after he picked Outlook, and John rage quit in the middle of Game 5. Or I guess it was the tail end of Game 5, but he rage quit. Um, there were there was cursing at each other in the tourney hype. I mean, it was an absolute mess. If you want to go back and watch it, it is on Misty's channel. It was absolute insanity. It was a great watch. Um, and I ended up coming out on top three too. Although I will say on any other day, I feel like it could have gone a different way. So it was definitely a very, very entertaining match and another chapter in the history of myself versus John. And the most improved award, I've decided to go ahead and give to DK, man. Of course, part of this award has to be considering that where he was a couple months ago. Because a couple months ago, he would get on, he would get smoked, he would be really upset about it, but he stuck with it. He has gotten very good. He is no longer the when I first started practicing with him, it was kind of like I could do whatever I wanted to do, and I could kind of just do, win the game, just trying new stuff. Now I have to now I really have to start going for my defaults. I really have to start doing all sorts of stuff just to make sure I don't end up losing to him. The only downside he has right now is that the mentality is not always there, and he can really get down on himself, which this game is known to do to people. So I've decided to give my most improved award to DK. I think there's a case to be made that Misty could also take that title, but at the same time, I think Misty's always been very good at multiplayer, whereas DK kind of came into the scene a little bit unpolished. And the fact that honestly he came out and was able to beat established players like Surge and Jacob and Robert says a lot about where he's grown, because I think 2 or 3 months ago Surge and Jacob and Robert all beat him. So hopefully, again, like I said, he can continue to improve at the rate he has, and hopefully he can conquer some of those mentality demons. But those are my awards, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. If you have anything you want me to go over for the next strategy corner, let me know. And other than that, I will see you guys.